Hype TV people! So this is a garage conversion that we're doing here. So the floor is now laid. So voila! Nice big concrete floor. So we've actually put about between 150 and 200 mils worth of screed. What a thing of beauty. And that's pretty much what it looks like. It's quite a semi-wet substance, and obviously you just shovel it in, whack it down a little bit and then polish it off, as you can see. And then what we've actually done over the top of the screen, we put a little bit of latex on there, and that is, latex is like a self-leveling compound. That's just to give it a skin, so we don't when we're walking around, the soles of our feet do not chew up the ground and make it go dusty. So it's a bit like a primer, shall we say. Right then, so on the inside, bear with me as I there we go, I'm in. Right then, so what we've done is we've framed it out, which is just a load of timber. As you can see, there's lots and lots of wood here. This is all now ready for take and screw in plasterboard. In regards to insulation, it's changed. So document all of the building regulations has changed, so the thermal upgrade has got to be more intense. However, for this one, we got the application in before the 15th, which means the old regulations apply. So on this particular one, we can just put 50 mil insulation between all these. So what we'll do is we'll get a sheet and cut it to size, and we'll friction fit it inside there so that it's flush. We'll do that all the way around, so all around where all these little squares are and all these little frames. On the walls, and only the walls, we'll put 50 mil, and then over the top of it, we're going to do like an overlay, what we call an overlay, with a 37.5 mil plasterboard. So that's 25 mil thick insulation, and it's got a 12.5 mil plasterboard. So we'll have 50 mil inside the wall, and then we'll have a 25 mil overlay with plasterboard on top, and that will meet the current standards for the walls. And for the ceilings, it's a little bit left to us how we make it up, but what we've got to do is make a 125 mil we need in the rafters. So in the roof part, we need 125 mil in here. So a little bit more boring technical knowledge for you folks. It's because we've got this old Slater's felt, or this old Sarking felt, which if you look at it, I'm not sure if you can catch it on the camera, it's got lots and lots of little squares. It's like cotton that's ribbed in there. So that's a good telltale sign of if that's old. And also if it's been on for a while, if you peel it a little bit, it'll start crumbling. So this is quite, the sun basically breaks this down. So that's just how you identify what the old Sarking felt is. If you have a look for those little crosses of cotton, then the chances are it's Sarking felt, and that means that this felt does not breathe. So what we've actually got to do is we've got to leave a 50 mil air gap, so that's just 2 inches, and then we've got to try and apply 100 mil. Now what we could do is put 100 mil between the rafters and pin it out like we've done so there, and then put a thicker overlay here. So it could be say 75 mil through there, and then make the rest up with a 25 mil over the top, and that's your 100 mil. Or you could just put 100 mil straight through and then an overlap. You can make it up how you want, or a 50 mil and a 50 mil. As long as there's 125 mil in total on the roof, that'll pass. But like I say, you do have to maintain a 50 mil air gap between each one of these. And then what we'll have to do is, if you can see the timber, which is here, the tickling stick, folks, the tickling stick's here. It always helps me. It points things out. It's an amazing thing, the good old tickling stick. So see this bit of timber here, and then there's timber there, and timber there. That's the fascia. Not my face, but fascia. And what we've got to do is drill a hole in each one of those and put a vent in it, so then the airflow can go up each one of these, up to the top, and then into this flat part. So into this flat part here, I'll put normal loft insulation above there, so that'll be 270 mil that I'll put, and then I'll actually put some tile vents in the top of the roof, and then that will enable air to come in through there and straight up and out of the vents in the roof, or vice versa, air can come in at the top and transfer down, and that's to take away this so it doesn't sweat. Because obviously if it sweats and condensates inside that area, then it's obviously going to be wet, and that's timber, so the timber will then eventually get the right conditions and either mould will grow or it'll just get rotten, and then eventually the roof will give way. So it's prevent things like that. You wouldn't think it was that technical, would you? A little bit of wood on the roof, BA rate. Nah, a little bit more to it than that, folks. So there you go. So on these regulations, we need 50mm inside the walls and then a 25mm overlay with a plasterboard. And then in the roof and the rafters there, I need 125mm in total. So I'm probably going to put the 100mm in between with a 50mm air gap, and then have the 25mm over the top and overlay. And then in the top part here, we'll put in there some loft roll, normal standard loft roll, and that will then pacify the building inspector, and it will also make it absolutely unbearably hot. This room will be like a furnace. So something else that we've done, so that's the walls. We've obviously put the timber in. The timber's all there for a reason, so obviously we've had to create a second skin, because this brick garage is only a single brick thick. So if you have got a single brick garage, then you need to create a second skin with a gap, and it must be an independent wall, which means this must not touch that wall there. There must be a gap. So as you can see, we have a gap. Aye. And that goes all the way down. So you've got to create a second skin with a cavity, and then you've got to have the insulated wall there. So what else we've done on this back wall is, because we've got lots of existing pipe work, rather than having it all taken out and repiped to save the client some money, we've just built a little bit of stud work and going to put an MDF front on it, and then a bit of a sill board on top and make it as a bit of a feature. And also here, all the pipe work that runs up the wall. Again, probably can't tell we've done this 3x2, but we've made that so that we can screw a piece of MDF to it, so we can make it look like a box. But if it ever needs to be accessed, because it's got things like this. So this little thing here, tickling stick again, folks, the tickling stick. That's called a drain cock. A drain cock, folks, yeah? Beautiful. And it's called the cock, because look, it's got a little jiggle. Diggly, and he's little wiggly. Anyway, so what that's used for is if you ever need to drain down the central heating system or the hot water tank, I'm not quite sure which one that is yet, I've not been inside the house, you'd actually put a hose pipe. You'd actually put a hose pipe on the end of the cock, and then you would undo this, and that will then let water come out, so you could then put that outside, for instance, and drain it all down, and it saves loads of water and mess inside your house. So that needs to be an accessible point. So like I say, we've made some boxwork there, and we'll screw a panel all the way down there to make that accessible. And then anybody might be thinking, you know, what is this? So this old piece of timber here, it goes from that corner, and it goes all the way along, and it goes through that hole, and it goes right through to the other end. So let me see if I can draw you a picture so I can try and make you understand. So what is it? Can we see this? So your normal roof, or the roof on this, is very much like that. So can you see it, folks? So we've got one side that goes up, it's flat across the top, and then this part comes down. So it's a little bit like a triangle. It's a triangular shape like that, and like that. And this piece of wood here, that goes all the way across, it actually connects there, right through to that. So if you look at that there, so basically it's the bottom of the triangle. Now if that's not there, so you've got a triangle, like so, and at the bottom is that piece of wood. So imagine from there to the bottom of this elbow, like so, there's a piece of wood. So if you take that away, it's to stop what's called roof spread. If that's gone, the roof's then going to want to push and do this and flatten out. So that piece of wood, although it doesn't look like it's doing anything structurally, it's literally just a brace to stop the bottom parts kicking out and the roof collapsing down. So it is doing a little bit of work. Now, for us to make a nicer job of that, so I'm going somewhere with this story. So obviously we've cut out here for the doorway and put a lintel on one side. So it's just one skin we've got to do. That's obviously the entrance into here. When you're also doing this, you've got to bear in mind that when you're walking in a garage and thinking about doing a garage conversion, you might look at it and think it's a big room, but you've got to bear in mind that when you start adding all the insulation and the floor that you've got to add, with the screed or the timber floor on top, is obviously you're going up in height quite a bit, which then makes the roof lower. And what you don't want to do is create like a very, very small box. So what we've done is to give it a little bit more headspace and make it feel bigger. So obviously you're spending a lot of money on this, is we've actually used these rafters. So we're going to have like a vaulted ceiling there and make this bit flat, okay? So that's why, what you see there is what you get. That's going to be the finished roof. So we've got along this hip here, this purling, and we've got some straight bits there, and we've got some angled bits there, and that's going to be the shape of the roof. So back to my main point, is if you do have one of these pieces of wood, which is again the bottom of the triangle that I've just tried to explain to you, if you try to remove that, it's very, very hard to do so. Well, it's not actually, it's very easy to cut it out, but it's then trying to reinforce it. So if we were to do that, an option, but then this is where expense comes in, is something called a third rule. So a third rule is we could attempt to go a third of the way up this rafter, so roughly there where the tickling stick is, folks, and we could come off there and go straight the way along and onto the wall. And what we could do is we could get something like a 5x2 or a 6x2 or maybe even a 7x2 screwed to that wall, and that'd be called a pole plate. Well, that's what I call it anyway. So it's a big piece of wood that's screwed into the brick, and then what we do is we get some 5x2 timbers. So there's something called a Trada spec, and that sort of tells you what the span can be and what it'll take. And then what we could do is put a load of joist hangers on, put plenty and plenty of fixings into one side. So then that means that all along here, all these potential joists, it'll look just the same as these, only thicker timber, be screwed into the wall, and it'd be on joist hangers on the wall. So then that means that side's solid. And then what we could do is, using the third rule, is come across and cut the timber into roughly a third of the way up this rafter here, and then we could screw through the rafter and bolt it. And if we were to do that, then that would help to support the roof, and then we could remove this piece of timber at the bottom. But obviously there's quite a bit of expense in that. Or the other solution is, you could make it a feature and build it in like a box, like I've done. So all it's going to be when you walk in, it's just going to be a big, big box. But obviously it's still doing the same job, it's still protected. And then what we've also done is to just give this roof a little bit more strength, is we've got these, what we call hangers. So the hangers are literally just one piece of wood that screws into that rafter there. So can you see the old wood there? You can see it's different colour from the tickling stick. You've got a piece of wood that goes down there, and we've screwed another piece of wood that comes down, and it's actually anchored into this, and it's to stop that wood bowing too much, because obviously we don't want it to warp over time, because it's actually doing quite a bit, stopping that triangle, as I've just tried to show you. It's the bottom of the triangle to stop it from going anywhere. So the more of those we've got in, the more support it's got, and it just ties the roof in a little bit more. So we've actually put quite a few in, so you can see these long pieces of new timber. All those are on rafters, and they all connect to the same plate, all the way down here, look. And that goes into there. So it can be removed. Don't just go and cut something out the bottom of a roof, because it might not look like it's doing something, but it obviously is. Or there is a workaround, as we've done here, and we've just done some simple box work, and it will just look like a box. So as you can see there, it'll go all the way down to the roof, it'll be flat at the top, and it'll just look like it's always been there. So using a little bit of noggin, and to make somebody else's life a little bit easier, is if you are making stud work in your own garage, if you're doing this yourself at home, folks, wherever you're screwing a radiator or wherever you want to screw something, screw some wood. So you haven't got to try and make a fixing inside the box, inside a plasterboard. Little bit of wood inside the holes there, and when you haven't got a mark out or anything, when you come to put your brackets on, you just screw straight through the plasterboard and into the wood, and you've got a nice fixing. So there's a little bit of a tip. It's called a patress, and it saves you a lot of headache later on. And that's the same if you're going to put a TV on the wall, or if you're going to screw something heavy to the wall, or anything that you're doing anywhere. Always good to put a patress in, so you can screw straight into it. There we go, full of tips, and I'm full of shit as well. And that's it for this garage conversion. We're quite a way through now, folks, and it's going to look quite stunning when it's finished. Any questions, hit me up below, folks, and until next time, I'll see you later. Mwah.